Pluto, a frozen world at the frontier. Far beyond Neptune, billions of kilometers from Earth, lies a small and mysterious world suspended in the darkness of the outer solar system. This is Pluto. At first glance, Pluto might appear to be nothing more than a frozen and lifeless sphere. But when NASA's New Horizons spacecraft finally revealed this distant world in unprecedented detail, scientists discovered something far more complex. Pluto is a world of towering mountains, enormous glaciers, frozen plains, a fragile atmosphere, and landscapes that appear surprisingly young in geological terms. With a diameter of only about 2,377 kilometers, Pluto is considerably smaller than Earth's moon. But what Pluto lacks in size, it makes up for in extremes. Pluto travels around the Sun on an elongated and tilted orbit at an average distance of approximately 9 billion kilometers. From this enormous distance, sunlight is dramatically weaker than it is on Earth. But standing on Pluto during the daytime would not mean standing in complete darkness. The Sun would still be by far the brightest object in the sky, but it would appear much smaller than it does from Earth. And the environment around you would be unimaginably cold. Average surface temperatures are around -230 degrees Celsius, or approximately -380 degrees Fahrenheit. At temperatures like these, materials that exist as gases on Earth behave very differently. Nitrogen freezes, methane freezes, carbon monoxide freezes. Water ice, meanwhile, becomes incredibly hard. Hard enough to behave almost like rock, and this creates some extraordinary landscapes. One of Pluto's most recognizable features is an enormous, bright, heart-shaped region known as Tombaugh Regio. It was named after Clyde Tombaugh, the astronomer who discovered Pluto in 1930. Inside this region lies Sputnik Planitia, an immense and remarkably smooth basin covered largely in frozen nitrogen. But this frozen material isn't necessarily motionless. Evidence suggests that these exotic ices can slowly flow across the surface. In other words, Pluto has glaciers, but these aren't ordinary glaciers like those we see on Earth. They are alien glaciers made from exotic frozen materials, moving slowly across one of the coldest environments in the solar system. Surrounding these frozen plains are enormous mountains. Some rise several kilometers above the surface, and remarkably, many of these mountains are composed largely of water ice. On Earth, water ice covers mountains. On Pluto, water ice can form the mountains themselves. But Pluto may be even stranger than that. Scientists studying data from New Horizons have identified enormous structures that may have been created by cryovolcanism. In simple terms, ice volcanoes. Unlike volcanoes on Earth, which erupt molten rock, cryovolcanoes could potentially bring water and other icy materials from Pluto's interior toward the surface. If Pluto has experienced this kind of activity, it would mean that this tiny frozen world has been far more geologically active than scientists once expected. And beneath all of this frozen terrain may lie an even greater mystery: a hidden ocean. Scientists have proposed that deep beneath Pluto's frozen crust, internal heat may allow a layer of liquid water to exist. No spacecraft has directly detected this ocean. Its existence remains a scientific hypothesis. But if Pluto really does contain a subsurface ocean, then one of the coldest worlds in our solar system could be hiding an enormous reservoir of liquid water beneath kilometers of ice. And above the surface, Pluto has another surprise: an atmosphere. It is extraordinarily thin compared with Earth's and consists primarily of nitrogen, along with smaller amounts of methane and carbon monoxide. When New Horizons passed Pluto, it photographed spectacular layers of atmospheric haze surrounding the dwarf planet. From behind, sunlight illuminated this haze and revealed a beautiful thin blue glow around Pluto. And Pluto's atmosphere changes as the dwarf planet travels around the Sun. One orbit takes approximately 248 Earth years. When Pluto receives more solar energy, some frozen materials on its surface can transform directly from solid ice into gas. As conditions become colder, some atmospheric gases can freeze and return to the surface. Imagine living on a world where part of the atmosphere itself can freeze onto the ground. And then there is Charon. Pluto has 5 known moons: Styx, Nix, Kerberos, Hydra, and its largest moon, Charon. Charon is enormous compared with Pluto. Its diameter is roughly half that of the dwarf planet. Pluto and Charon are also tidally locked to each other. They continuously show the same faces toward one another. This creates an extraordinary view. If you stood in the correct location on Pluto and looked into the sky, Charon would appear to remain in approximately the same place, hour after hour, day after day. Imagine standing on a frozen plain billions of kilometers from Earth, a nearly black sky above you. Mountains of water ice rising on the horizon, nitrogen glaciers stretching into the distance, the sun appearing tiny but brilliant, and the enormous disk of Charon hanging almost motionless above the landscape. It would be one of the most alien views a human being could ever experience. But could a human actually stand there? Pluto's gravity is only about 6% of Earth's gravity. A person weighing 180 pounds on Earth would effectively weigh only around 11 pounds on Pluto. Moving across the surface would feel completely different. You could potentially make enormous jumps, but surviving outside would be another matter entirely. Pluto's atmosphere is far too thin to breathe. There is no breathable oxygen. There is essentially no useful atmospheric pressure for a human being. And temperatures can approach -240 degrees Celsius. A human exposed directly to Pluto's environment would not survive. A spacesuit would therefore have to provide everything: pressure, oxygen, heating, thermal protection, communications, and life support. Today's spacesuits are capable of protecting astronauts from the vacuum and extreme thermal conditions encountered in space. But a human expedition to Pluto would present a completely different engineering challenge. An astronaut would need equipment designed for prolonged operation in Pluto's extraordinarily cold environment. And if something went wrong, help would not be nearby, because Pluto is incredibly far from Earth. We know exactly how difficult that journey can be, because humanity has already sent a spacecraft there. NASA's New Horizons spacecraft launched from Earth on January 19, 2006. It traveled past Jupiter, using the giant planet's gravity to increase its speed. Then it continued deeper and deeper into the outer solar system, year after year, until finally, on July 14, 2015, New Horizons reached Pluto. The journey took approximately 9.5 years. And New Horizons was moving incredibly fast. It didn't stop at Pluto. It didn't enter orbit. It didn't land. It simply flew past. A human mission would be vastly more complicated. Astronauts would require years of food, water, oxygen, radiation protection, medical equipment, life support systems, and reliable power. And unlike New Horizons, a crewed spacecraft would probably need some way of slowing down when it arrived. So although a robotic spacecraft has reached Pluto in less than 10 years, sending humans there with today's technology would be one of the most difficult missions humanity has ever attempted. And communication would present another problem. Pluto is so distant that radio signals traveling at the speed of light take several hours to cross the distance between Pluto and Earth. An astronaut could send a message saying, "Houston, we have a problem." But Earth wouldn't hear it until hours later, and the astronaut would then have to wait hours more for the response. There would be no instant communication, no immediate instructions, and certainly no quick rescue mission. Human explorers would effectively be on their own. And yet, Pluto continues to fascinate us. Humanity has seen this world up close only once. Before New Horizons, Pluto was little more than a blurry point of light. After New Horizons, it became a world. A world with mountains, glaciers, an atmosphere, possible ice volcanoes, 5 moons, and perhaps even an ocean hidden beneath its frozen surface. Pluto was once considered the 9th planet of our solar system. Today, it is officially classified as a dwarf planet, but there is nothing insignificant about it. Pluto is a complex, beautiful, and mysterious world sitting billions of kilometers away near the frontier of the planetary system we call home. And perhaps The most extraordinary thing about Pluto is this. New Horizons only gave us a brief glimpse. It never landed, it never explored beneath the surface, and it never stayed to watch this world change, which means that somewhere beneath those frozen plains, among those mountains of ice, or deep beneath Pluto's frozen crust, there may still be discoveries waiting for us. Discoveries that could completely change what we think we know about this tiny world at the edge of the solar system.